Hello friends, let me discuss the global issue. The most important global issue, the imposition of tariffs by the Trump administration under IIPA. It stands for International Emergency Economic Powers Act. This statute empowers the president to regulate trade in the event of a national emergency. This statute doesn't provide a proper definition of what constitutes a national emergency, and number two, the statute only provides the power to regulate trade in the event of a national emergency, and the president through an executive order can regulate trade in the event of a national emergency. The statute expressly uses the phrase regulate trade. The statute does not make any express provision for imposition of tariff for the purpose of regulating trade. Regulate trade is a broad perspective, and in the event of absence of tariff, the regulate trade would mean non-tariff barriers and does not include within its compass the right to impose tariff. The Solicitor General representing the Trump administration have argued before the Supreme Court of the US that the term power to regulate trade includes the power to impose tariff. This is the argument presented by the Solicitor General. The Supreme Court has heard the matter on 5th of November 2025 but have not yet issued any ruling on the case. The argument presented by the Solicitor General on behalf of the Trump administration that the power to regulate trade includes the power to impose tariff is not in consonance with the legal principles, and therefore the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration is open for legal challenges, and the propriety, the legality and the constitutionality of the tariffs imposed is under challenge. Before I dive into this, it is important to discuss some important laws governing the tariffs in the US. The power to impose tariffs is regulated under the law, the US Tariff Act of 1930. This Tariff Act imposes the tariffs on the import of goods into the US and sets out the rates of duty. There is another law also, which is the US Trade Act of 1974. This law also relates to tariff, but the purpose of this law, the Trade Act of 74, is to impose tariffs at a zero rate or at a reduced rate consequent to a trade deal, which is a free trade deal, FTA, free trade agreement. So if there is any free trade agreement executed between the US and any other country, and the purpose of the trade agreement allows the imposition of duty at zero rate or at a reduced rate, the president through an executive order under the Trade Act of 74 can issue the order in consonance with the or in the for the purpose of honoring the free trade agreement. That is, the rates of duty applicable to such free trade agreements would be at zero rate or at reduced rate. However, the president in this case have neither taken resort to the US Tariff Act or the Trade Act of 1974, but have taken resort to the IEPA. And the glaring purpose for taking resort to IEPA is to avoid the rigors and the conditions required for imposition of tariffs under the US Tariff Act and the Trade Act of 1974. The president could not have imposed the tariffs on the countries at exorbitant rate under the US Tariff Act or the Trade Act without making the presentation of a bill in the US Congress. The easier way of imposing tariffs through an executive order was available to the Trump administration only under IAPA, which provided for regulating the trade and passing of an executive order. Which Trump administration has issued an executive order under IAPA imposing tariffs. But the legality of these tariffs is questionable because it is against the Constitution of the US and the law doesn't provide for it. There is no provision under IAPA which empowers the president to impose tariffs. IAPA only provides the authority to the president to regulate trade in a national emergency. And therefore, the imposition of tariffs by the Trump administration under IAPA is not lawful and contrary to the principles of Constitution. And therefore, we are awaiting the ruling of the Supreme Court in the matter, and there is a preponderance of probability the US Supreme Court would issue the ruling against the Trump administration, as the imposition of tariffs is absolutely illegal and unconstitutional. And there is no ground for sustaining the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration through an executive order. The Trump administration may be in great trouble in the near future. The ruling of the Supreme Court may be issued at any time, and hopefully the new year, we are approaching the new year 2026, and it may be hard times for the Trump administration because the ruling will have widespread ramifications across the globe, and the Trump administration may have to withdraw the tariffs but also have to refund the duties collected. So we are waiting to see the ruling, and which will decide the future of the Trump administration. In summary, the imposition of tariffs by the Trump administration is unlawful and cannot be sustained in law, and the tariffs would be struck down by the Supreme Court in all probability, because there is no legality for such imposition of tariffs. If you like this video, please share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.